All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for attending the 55th KSUG Meetup, which is held at the Melbourne. I'm Rashendra. I'll be your MC or the host for this event. We got a action-packed agenda today, so I'll just go through with that agenda in the next few minutes. So I just wanted, before we go into the two items on the agenda, we just want to give you a bit of an introduction about our meetup and the how we have spread across the world, and how people are engaging with us with this meetup. And if you just look at here, um, so we are one of the largest meetup. We got 118,000, sorry, 100, um, people who have been connecting through LinkedIn and even through our meetup across the globe. We got 31,000 people who have attended these meetups, 33,000 Cube Strong in LinkedIn, and 24,000 people who are in our AI discussions, and 18,000 again in LinkedIn. And we got 13,000 people who are actually following our astronaut, and 13,000 our newsletter. Feel free to take photos and feel free to upload in LinkedIn. You can also upload or access our photos in this particular QR code. Um, Please do not delete the existing photos. You can upload it. You're welcome to upload it, or you download the existing photos. Um, Certain chats will be coming. Sorry for the people who are standing in the behind. It's a action-packed house full today. You will be getting some seats very soon. All right, so let's go to the agenda, which is going to be very interesting. So we got representatives from AWS who is going to talk about the reinvent. I believe I would like to welcome in for that first topic soon after this conversation, Dale Order, Stephen, and Matthew and Michael, who will be going through certain things which were discussed and which is related to our market, especially AI and Kubernetes, um, in our first panel discussion. And it will be followed by Andrew Jarrett, who will be giving an update on EKS. So we initially started this meetup based on Kubernetes, and then we included both Kubernetes and AI. Now we are more focused on AI side of things, and but also we don't forget to mention about what are things happening at the Kubernetes side of things. All right, test one. This one. And we will be having a quiz at the end, and we are planning to give away two Code Cloud subscription for 6 months for the two lucky winners. So please stay till the end, because it's a really an good platform for you to learn. Code Cloud is one of our premium sponsors for this event, and I might have myself have used Code Cloud in especially learning Docker, Kubernetes, and I can attest to myself that it's a very very good platform if you're planning to learn Kubernetes. And our mission is to empower the community, and we want to learn fast, certify smart, and grow stronger. And we also known as Cube Strongers. And introducing the astronaut. So if you are a Cube astronaut, and if you're also a golden jacket, I think there's one golden jacket here. I could be wrong. Then we are creating. Sorry, who's that? Oh, yes, you should be. Yes, I believe you should be wearing that jacket. I got like a Cube astronaut one. It's not a very expensive one, unlike the golden jacket. I myself planning to get the golden jacket after completing three more exams, hopefully soon, hopefully before my some of my exams expire. So we also have created a new group called Astronaut. So if you are a golden jacket and plus a Cube astronaut, you get to be part of this special elite group. And we got already 18 Cube strong members who are also astronaut. And I'd like to thank for the volunteers. We got myself, Rashenda, who's in the bottom, and Susan Wu, who's also from NAB, who's assisting me. And there are a few people who couldn't make it. Unfortunately, Nari will be on her way. Unfortunately, Jong is actually in China. He's visiting China and visiting some of the meetups over China as well. Thanks for the volunteers, and if you want to be part of a volunteer group, please reach out to me or Susan. We would be more than happy to have more volunteers and sponsors. And just want to mention, Cloud is our main sponsor. Special thanks for them. As I mentioned, it's a really good platform if you are planning to learn Kubernetes, Docker, and it is expanding really fast. So there'll be more content. You not only get tutorials, you also get practice exams, real time lab access, as well as quizzes in Code Cloud. So thanks for the Code Cloud for their sponsorship. And they are the one who will be sponsoring for 2 subscription during our quiz. And also AWS for providing these premises to host this special event. Big thanks for that. And we are also joined by JR Academy. Yeah, there you go. Aurora from JR Academy is also here with us. They are also joining hands with us for this particular meetup. It is focused on the graduates as well as those who pass out from the uni, if they are looking for an internship or to get them upskill regarding the professional areas or professional qualifications. Please reach out to them. You can join that academy, and then you can learn quite a lot as well. All right. And again, huge thanks for the Code Cloud. So if you want to go to this particular link, which you can see it in this particular very top left, Code Cloud KSUG, you would get a special 30% off. That is applicable for everyone, every person who are part of this meetup. So you definitely, I would encourage you to take use of that one. You can also use this QR code to go to that page. And this is the kind of events which is lined up, which we will be there. Just for your information, you can also use certain codes to get certain discounts as well. You can see those discount codes there. You can just feel free to take a picture if you want. But all these subscription, or whether it is an portal which you can actually use to study, you can use those codes which is being highlighted here to get a discount. I'll let you 30 seconds if you're interested in taking a picture. All right. So more discounts to talk about. Save 25% on 3131 subscription. Again, you can also scan this particular QR code, and if you are interested in what you call in Linux Foundations, we call it the 3-1 subscription. Feel free to use it. That will give you close to 40% savings. Not sure whether this is still valid, but last when I checked, it was still valid. All right. Today we have, as I mentioned, at the end of the panel discussion and the eCase update, we have a quiz. We have like 9 questions, which we put it up in here. You can use your mobile to answer those questions. The top 2 will get 6 months of Code Cloud access. So it is a really good opportunity if you're planning to learn Kubernetes, Docker, and if you're planning to do some labs, practice labs. even STO. STO is something which is there in the code card as well. So please wait till the end, because I would say it is really an good platform if you want to upskill professional areas or the professional skill set. All right. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite our panel. I think we're missing one more chat. I would like to invite Dale Orders to the front, Stephen Sennet, Andrew Jarrett. Oh, you're not the front. Yeah, sorry. Matthew Gillard and Michael Walmsley. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you can take that one.
We can't see the slides somehow.
Yes,
We can't see the slides on Zoom.
Oh, there we go. It's nice when tech works straight out, isn't it?
456.
Oh. All right. Lovely to see everyone here. Everyone actually made it. It's fantastic to have so many people here. I think this is one of the most packed I've ever seen in this room.
Can you see?
So first of all, thank you very much to everyone for coming, and also for everyone who's up online as well. I know we have a couple of people online. Hi, Nadia. I'm waiting for. Anyway, it's good to have everyone here. And today we are here to talk about everything from AWS reInvent and go through a bit of a panel discussion of some of the big announcements that came up at AWS reInvent. So, as a quick primer for people aren't aware, at the end of the year, every year, AWS have a major conference, AWS reInvent, that they hold in Las Vegas, Nevada, over in the US. And that's where they introduce some of their biggest announcements for the year. And so, of course, that includes things like storage and AI, developer tooling, and of course, containers, Kubernetes, many other things as well. There are so many announcements that came out, about 540 something came out this year, which is quite a lot. So rather than just saying, here's a whole bunch, instead this has been an opportunity for us to talk about it, to share from the four of us what we came across during reInvent as part of this, but also as a chance for if anyone has any thoughts or queries, by all means, throw your hand up during this. This will be a conversation between the panel, of course, but also yourselves. If you have something to add, please feel free to do so. So with that, I'll quickly introduce myself. I'm Stephen. I'm not really the important one. I'm just here to be the moderator. But I'll hand across to our panelists, and we'll go through and get everyone, each of them to do an introduction, and we'll kick off our conversation. Hi.
Hello. Okay, so my name's Dale Orders. I'm an organizer for AWS Programming Tools Melbourne. I attended reInvent this year. This is actually my second time as part of the All Builders Welcome program. So this is an AWS program that's designed to fund early career engineers to enable them to attend conferences such as reInvent. And if anyone's interested in the program, please come and speak to me later. We've actually got another person, Christina, who also attended as part of the program. So wonderful program. With that said, I'll pass to Matt.
So, Matt Gillard, this was my fifth birthday. It's crazy every year. About 66,000 people or thereabouts, which is pretty crazy. I am an organiser for several throughout Melbourne. I work at KSUG.AI as a data AI consultant, helping organisations on the AI journey. I've probably got 7 years.
Just include me as well.
Mostly consulting, and I started at the side as well. So doing course section HQ, and a podcast, CloudDialogues.com.
Not that you aren't doing enough, that's it, no. And AWS Community Builder, also AWS Community Builder. You were not Builder though.
Hi, Michael Walmsley. My day job, I work for Accenture. I'm a global technology architect specialising in AI automation. My day-to-day work. Other than that, I do work with data and some other organisers involving AWS Meetup. I was recognised by AWS as a service hero back in 2023. So I've been a service hero for the last 2 years. I've only been treated 3 times. But this year was the craziest.
Only 3 times, he says. Only 3 times through then.
And Michael, if the light is too much, we can definitely switch it off, the lights.
I'm just in character.
Yeah.
I mean, so I do have a question just related to that.
It's okay, just joking.
Is this the uniform for like an eccentric global architect? I mean, does anyone here work for eccentric? Can you tell me what this is for? Like, what is this?
What is this that I'm wearing?
What is this? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, totally not planned.
This that I'm wearing, yellow is a beautiful color.
Can we get the AWS logo on the back as well?
It's got an AWS logo on the back. But here's the secret, it's the road to reinvent. So this year, everyone has getting to reinvent is journey, especially in Australia, right? So many planes, so many delays, so many hours waiting to get through customs. But I had a little bit of different journey this year. This year I flew straight into LA. I stayed in LA. You're not hearing me? This seems to be cutting in and out.
Yeah, we can hear.
Cool. It's just me. Flew into LA and I met up with 50 other developers that were gathered, a combination of community builders and AWS heroes from around the world. We formed 10 teams, and I led the yellow team. We were given a prompt at 9:30 in the morning, just before we boarded buses. We boarded buses in LA, and we spent 5 hours doing a live hackathon at the back of the bus, or the front of the bus, depending on where you are located. We had 5 hours to build something that was gloriously useless, was over-engineered, and didn't solve the problem that anyone needed solving. That was the prompt. We had 5 hours to do this. And right at the end, we were up on stage, and each team had 60 seconds to present values. Exactly what they did. So anyone who's done a hackathon over 3 or 4 days, you know, that's nothing. That's easy. That's really easy. 5 hours is intense. But that's why I'm wearing this, because I was out there with the team, had more fun. And the prize, 100K was within the team.
Did you win? Did you win? Did you win? And can we
I consider the other team didn't win, but we were at the back of the bus with the team that did win. So I actually consider we came second. There was no prizes for second, and no one claimed second, no one announced second. So I'm just claiming.
That's a lot of words to say. That's a lot of words to say no, Max.
You know.
And I mean, because you were also, as part of that hackathon, that wasn't just like go and code stuff. There was particular things like you have to use particular technology as well. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, hero. Where is Danny with his hero shirt? There he is. So I'm curious, has anyone here heard of Hero, the new AI assisted IDE from Amazon? Seeing a couple of nods. We'll get some hands. I'm just curious about the hand show. All right, so maybe about a third of people. So for the 2/3 of people who've never heard of Hero, how would you describe it? Kind of like an AWS's take on Cursor, or is there something a bit different for that?
It's a little bit different. All the AI tools up until Hero was released in June last year were all about vibe coding. It's all about vibe, right? Everyone heard that vibe coding. You know, ever since Andre Kapati came out in January and said vibe coding's a thing, everyone went mad and started doing crazy, right? Everyone's seen it, and everyone's going, oh my god. Whereas the world can end up. Hero came out something different with AWS. They came out something a little bit different. It's specification driven. So since Hero came out in mid-year last year in June, you would have seen a whole lot of other spec-driven paradigms coming out. You know, Microsoft have released their spec kit, which is very similar. Claude Code have also doing similar things. But the whole outcome with Hero is that specifications and having context that is uniform throughout your project actually gives you a better result. And that's true. I mean, I deep dived on AI assisted coding last year, but it's been a whole year overdose on. Guilty. I'm one of those. But I was speaking at a lot of conferences, and prior to Hero coming out, I was actually talking about people in Europe, and a lot of my conference talks last year were focused on specification-driven development being the way to go, because it's the only way to control the context, control the scope. And we all know that with AI, the less context you give it, the more accurate the result you can get. That's what you take back from using Hero.
And that came out as general availability recently as well with your event, correct? Or just before?
It was preview in June, July.
Yeah.
My timeline is a little bit blurred.
Yeah, it was,
My timeline's blurred because I've been using it since like every March. So
secrets, weird stuff.
Hey, what's your stuff? Like I said, I can actually say that because it's out now.
Yes, it's not under NDA anymore.
I can't talk about it. No, I can't talk about it.
Can't tell you. Look, so I think that was a really interesting one from reInvent. In terms of some other stuff, I mean, obviously, thinking about that, your experience with also Hero, one of the other things I guess that popped up as well is like, we also have two people here who've also been speakers at reInvent as well. And I guess thinking about this meetup, and particularly around the Kubernetes side of it, we have someone who was there speaking about EKS as well, and kind of ties into all the stuff from this as well. So, Dale, you had an experience as a speaker at reInvent, as well as obviously being somebody who works in the space of Cube as well. So, what was your experience at reInvent like? What would you take away from it?
So this year was actually, it's my second time attending reInvent. This time I was actually a speaker, and I gave 2 presentations on EKS, which was very daunting. Getting that email saying that your presentation has been accepted and that they want you to stand on stage. And so for me, I think it was the most nerve-wracking experience of presenting. I think that after you do the first one, it starts to become a little bit easier. But I just think there's something about being there and being in the room with people who are so passionate about technology and are experts in their field. There's something about being privy to that, which I think really the atmosphere is hard to describe, but I think as a presenter you can really feel that, and it makes it very special. So I think if you do get the opportunity to go, I would certainly encourage you to actually put in an application, see if you can be a speaker yourself.
Yes, I also spoke with my first time at reInvent. I've spoken at other events before, but the first time at reInvent, it's a bit nerve-wracking. You've got, they prepare you pretty well, so there's like they prep all the PowerPoints, and you've got up until a few hours before the presentation to make changes. There's a speaker's lounge, and you can go through tech checks and everything, so they do everything possible to make it as easy as possible for you. Then the stage that I was on was in a loud sort of expo hall, so that was a little bit harder. I felt like I was shouting during the presentation. And the good thing about it is that there's a YouTube recording on as well, so for people who didn't get to go and someone who didn't show others later, that was also good. So I spoke about my startup and journey from sort of MVP to NLP type thing with a bit of tech around data and stuff. So that was what I shared.
I was going to say, you're actually quite lucky that you only have to contend with the noise, because my mic actually stopped working during the presentation. They gave me a mic that literally fell apart. It was a headset to hold it here, and so people had to come on stage, they had to change the battery over. And
There's only one of them?
Oh, it was a palaver. Just the fact that it. Well, I think it was because I was the last speaker of the event, so that the mic had held up until that point, and then it just decided to die on me, which actually has never happened to me before. So I'm glad that it happened at reInvent, and that it, as you said, it's recorded so people can jump online and watch that, have a good laugh.
I'll also say the scale of the event, just to give you an idea of the scale and the production that goes into it. When you go to the stage, mine was a lightning stage. Around the back, there's a whole studio just for that stage, like 3 people there. So every stage, and there's a lot of them at that event, is exactly the same setup. So it's absolutely, insane the amount of work that goes into it. And my talk was up 24 hours pretty much after. So, no issue.
Yeah, and I guess one thing that's interesting as well is that thinking about the scale of reInvent, all the announcements and everything like that, is also coming back to stuff like among the other announcements that came out, there was a couple of announcements around EKS, and there was stuff around serverless and stuff around AI. And something that I think is interesting, like we can definitely talk about EKS, especially don't want to steal Andrew's thunder for this one, because there's some interesting stuff in EKS with the new EKS capabilities feature. But something that's possibly worth talking about in the compute space as well is where the line between containers and serverless is starting to blur a little bit more. So something that came up there was obviously Now with the new Lambda managed instances and the durable functions as well, it seems like the line between serverless and containers is kind of blurring from the realm of saying, traditionally with Kubernetes, here's my server, things run on there, here are multiple servers, things run across my cluster, but I know where it runs, versus serverless just saying, I don't care, Cloud Magic, go do your stuff. The lines are starting to blur a little bit more. And given that we have two people here who are definitely experts in the serverless domain as well, how do you think about this kind of adjustment to how things are changing in that space?
Yeah, I've kind of avoided Kubernetes for a long time. Blasphemy. But when I say avoided, in general avoided, but I have done there's a lot of good workshops, and there's workshop that I have, which covers the entire life cycle of the cluster. I don't know if anyone's followed this before I've seen it. It's really good, and it gives a good best practice view of EKS. And I understand why it has a place, because I do a lot of enterprise audit. It's required in many use cases, especially for long-running applications, and especially applications that are designed for servers that people put into clusters, because that's probably the best place for those applications. But the thing that's always told me is that it's always been a maintenance nightmare I've seen a lot of bad things in the world around Kubernetes clusters. And people running up their own under the desk. I'm sure everyone's seen all these things. And that's good for learning, bad for production, pretty much. And having the divergence, I guess, that thing that Stephen was talking about, going for serverless is good because I can just put my app there and it goes that way around. But obviously it has some drawbacks and limitations, which you've got to balance between putting it into a Kubernetes cluster. But with clusters becoming more automated and I guess going further up the stack from a developer perspective, developer just wants to push their code. They actually don't want to manage a Kubernetes cluster. I mean, there might be a small number that do, but having that automation around the cluster actually removes a lot of friction to be able to provide that service. And sometimes it's more economical to do that. But then you've got the serverless side. There's a lot of benefits on that are also coming up, and it's sort of going more towards the server side. So I'll let Mike talk about that.
Who doesn't have a Raspberry Pi Kubernetes stack on the desk? Honestly, who doesn't? Right? Yeah, there's a few people on it, I can see that. So I work for Accenture. My serverless heart is slowly darkening. But it's really interesting when you look at Kubernetes, like you talk about convergence of technologies in the world. Kubernetes has always been, everyone's talked about as cloud native. That's the terms that's used. Cloud native, running cloud, which is awesome. But actually this morning I was watching Ronan Greener talks, which is from a combination of the lead for Kubernetes EKS stack on AWS, Netflix, and one of the lead designers for EKS. And it was a really interesting chat they had about where Kubernetes is going and how Netflix is influencing what the team is building from an automation perspective. And that's where we see things like EKS Auto Mode coming out last year. That's had a few updates. It's improving. They've still been rough around the edges from what I'm hearing from our platform teams. But the direction is that Netflix came to AWS 3 or 4 years ago and said, we don't want to manage our clusters anymore. We don't want to manage patching our servers anymore. We want that to be managed. And we want you to do that. And EKS at the time looks at Netflix and no, that's not happening. Not now. But over the last few years, that's slowly changing. And you see a lot of the development happening in EKS world. They're slowly starting to introduce more
Audio is not audio.
capabilities. I say capabilities, that's not releases. I won't say too much about that. But let's talk about that now. They're releasing more managed components for the Kubernetes stack, which I think is really interesting. And if you look at Lanka managed instances, which is now pretty much an EC2 capacity manager living in your account, auto scaling, auto patching EC2s. That already that
Just a normal
the
mic.
technology for auto patching of servers exists because Lanka does it in the runtime. But now we've got to expose more where I can actually choose instance types for landing agents, which is exciting, right? That actually runs with a non-container, so it's more like a function, which is very much container. So I think I'm actually seeing serverless and the land is serverless well. I've always said they're containers, because really they are, it's just not a container runtime. I think AWS doesn't have yet another container runtime. I think there's something wrong with it. So I'm watching out for the next one. But I really think that serverless and Kubernetes, I think, will coexist very, very naturally in the next 3 to 4 years. I think we're going to see a really strong convergence of those technologies. We're already seeing it today with just the container management that happens behind the scenes. Both ECS, Fargate, and Lambda, and all the other container runtimes you can think of.
Right.
Yeah, you go.
Just briefly, the thing that's always pushed people away from serverless is the lock-in, which is a bit of a fair thing, but I think with the rise of AI and all the AI tools out there, it's actually very easy. Like, it wasn't that hard to exit out of serverless and go into a cluster, but now it's literally, a prompt away from moving around from one thing to another. It's just the interface of the app. That's all it is. And if you don't want to think about that yourself, just upload it to it, and it'll be done, and it'll be on your Kubernetes cluster. Your app will be running, within probably a few minutes from when you started. So that's the sort of thing we can do now. So with that convergence and with AI, you can easily pick the right platform for your app, and if it's not the right platform for your app, it doesn't matter because you can switch.
It feels like that abstraction for the computer is getting a little bit stronger by comparison to, if we go back 10 years or so, when containers were still definitely there, but a little bit newer. Most of your stuff you would still just kind of install onto a server, and that was kind of it. Then over time, of course, as serverless has become more of a thing, and then you have that kind of layer of abstraction, which is built up kind of in parallel to containers, where there are 2 different paradigms for how you run your compute and running stuff on a server. Nobody does that anymore. Government. So you do find that, 2 parallel sets of compute abstractions have kind of risen up. And it feels like those 2 are now getting closer, probably not to unifying, but to the fact that there is a much similar kind of overlap between the 2. Does that kind of sound about right to you guys? Or does it feel like things are maybe heading towards something completely different that they're going to unify, or they're heading in a slightly different direction? This is completely like crystal ball gazing here, because it feels like it's a very strange and evolving space this time.
We've only just started uncovering the benefits of AI in development, and I think that's going to accelerate this. I actually think we're going to end up somewhere. We're going to end up somewhere different. Same, different. I actually think we'll end up running things very different. I actually personally think we need to change the way we do software. The way we do it today is very much like humans, and I don't think that works. I think we need an extra layer of abstraction to actually make AI developed systems more robust, more repeatable, more testable, and more reliable. And I don't think we're there. I think we're 6 to 12 months, 18 months away from that. I think this year will be interesting to see where we end up, because it's certainly accelerating a lot. I think everyone in the room is probably seeing that it's really accelerating. But I think we'll end up with one winner. We're still doing VHS and Meetup.
Yeah.
Not much chosen yet. I mean, with Docker, it was Runc and Containerd.
Yes.
Yeah. Now it's all Containerd. So Runc is still out there. I kind of lost touch on it, so it's for a while.
Yeah. There you go. And I think, to that point, of course, we can't really go past this without talking about AI. And, we've talked a little bit about, of course, Hero is there as part of the new releases from AWS. But I guess thinking about some of the more practical aspects, I'm just curious, show of hands, how many people would say they're using AI in their day job to some extent? Some extent? Yeah, okay, quite a good number. All right. What I'm curious about, particularly from our panelists here, is we could just talk about, hey, there's new features, there's new products, there's new, look at this marketing. Yeah, AWS. Thank you, AWS, for giving us the venue. In terms of what you're actually doing in your day job with with any kind of AI at the moment, where do you think AI is actually delivering most value for you in your job? And that could be something as simple as I can use the enterprise chat GPT to help me just write words for an email, or it could be it's building entire application stacks. So where is that coming into your life now at the moment?
Okay, I work in a group that specializes in internal tools at Accenture. We've only been working with AI and automation for the last 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. Generative AI has been consuming us since ChatGPT came out, and that's been very, very, very worrisome. But we've actually built the way it helps me day to day using AI. I use AI everywhere. Our boss says, if you're not using AI, what are you doing? If you're building something, where is the agents? Where are the agents in what you're doing? Because if there's no agents in it, no one wants to buy it. No one wants to see it. If you're not building software with an agent and not having an agent embedded in your software, it's not going to sell. That's what enterprise wants. That's what the CEOs are being sold today. And that's marketing. That's just marketing. I don't think that's, technology-wise, I don't know if that's smart. But how do I use that day to day? We actually built a purpose-built AI-driven canvas that allows us to generate documents that we can chat with. So I, as an architect, I can actually have a chat to start. I can actually start writing a document, and then I can actually have a chat with AI to get to improve it, use that as context, and actually get it to focus on certain aspects of the design, and then get it to go deeper and give me a more refined solution with. I mean, these LLMs have the entire internet embedded inside them. That's every piece of architecture that's ever been built is inside them. So why wouldn't I ask it to get some architectural advice about what I'm doing? To at least get some insights into where are the bottlenecks, where are the problems, what do I need to look out for, what has gone wrong before that I can not have go wrong now. And those are very powerful questions. If you're not asking AI those questions, I think you should be, because I am. I do it all day.
AI, yes, I'm using AI a lot, especially on the startup side. So pretty much last year, the start of 2025 was really when you could do, when the agent side of coding came out. Prior to then, if you remember, you asked questions, you copied the answer, you pasted the code, which was fine. It was still productive. And even 2024, I think it was called 3.7, something around that vintage. It was so long ago. It could actually convert front-end bootstrap code to, there's a framework called Chakra UI, and it could convert between the two. And that's when I first started using it. It absolutely blew my mind that I could get probably 10 plus pages converted in like an hour. When I'm not a front-end person, that would take me of trying to align divs or, center the div, insert me here. It was absolutely crazy. And then since then, things have just improved, multiple fold. And being able to build a SaaS system on the side, my startup, being able to just, methodically, I only do it a few days a week, and I'm not vibe coding where I don't see the code. I'm sort of, I can build a feature in a day or two, which will take a week of me thinking. Not only that, because I have a day job, I have to get context back when I sit in front of the code. If you're a developer, once you leave the code for a few days, it's gone out of your head, like a manager. You come back and you go, oh, what was I thinking when I did this? Now I can just ask the agent, where was I up to? I want to do this, and it just tells you what you're doing. So if you're not using AI for dev, if you're not using AI for infrastructure, if you're not using AI to have builder specs, do your architecture, review the resume, help you revise for the tests, pretty much any task, then do it tomorrow, because it's absolutely.
It doesn't quite tell you what you were thinking when you did it, does it?
No. But you can record those decisions somewhere, and even in your prompts, if you're recording the prompts, you can go back to what you're asking. It's a reasonable approximation, right? as long as I get to the outcome, I don't really care. So just a question, is there any developers here? And are you using AI in your day job?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I think most people are. Some organisations in the enterprise, they don't, because they haven't got the guardrails, they haven't got the methods. And I'm seeing that in my day job consulting, because you have to build that in. You know, doing coding in your personal life versus your work life. Yes. So anyway, that's my
That's a good take on it. I guess from the other side of this as well, when we're thinking about those announcements that came out around AI with reInvent as well, were there any that stood out to any of you guys in particular? I mean, there were things like obviously the new Nova models. There was a bit of a change around things like the Bedrock service tiers to now make it easier to actually get lower latency responses with Bedrock. There was the elements around Nova Forge as well, the ability to actually create pre-trained models for an actual LLM size sort of thing, like what they've done with Reddit. There was different things in the keynotes as well that were quite interesting. I guess, was there anything that jumped out at you and said, "Oh, this is a big shiny thing with AI"? But I will say, for me, a lot of it seemed fairly like, yes, this is to be expected. I don't think there was much revolutionary in the AI space at the moment for me.
The only revolutionary thing that was announced, I think, in my opinion, is the new mantle inference. So, I think Peter DeSantis' keynote, they spoke about Dave Brown, spoke about the way they're doing inference now is basically it's a new method where they provide those tiers, so you can have private tier, standard tier, all tiers of requests for inference requests, and also it's got zero operator access. So the whole system is built with no operator access to the servers, the code, anything, completely fully automated, which is important for compliance and stuff. So they revealed that, and the only endpoints that have that at the moment are the new OpenAI compatible endpoints with some of the OpenAI models, and the other models are coming soon. That's not in all regions, not in Sydney. But I think that was the major groundbreaking announcement, which was probably a 5-minute segment in the keynote. But I agree with Stephen, from an announcement perspective, it was more iterative, and there was a focus in a lot of other areas. But I will say Agent Core is something you probably should look at, because that was GA just before reInvent, I think. And if you play with MCPs, things like that, there's a lot of potential security issues with those. And if you're putting them in the enterprise, you need somewhere safe to put them. Agent Core is one of those safe places to put them, because you can all authentication around it, control who accesses it, and they released Agent Core policy, which allows you to specify policy around tool calling and access. So there's a few sort of improvements around.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess that kind of comes to a good point of, if there was any particular announcements that really caught anyone's interest. Again, from my side, there was a couple of announcements that were kind of, little diamonds in the rough that didn't really get spotted by a lot of people. So things even like the fact that now there's the regional NAT gateway, which again, for me has made a lot of difference in terms of actually building out networks, but it's not something that grabs a lot of attention. It's just that iterative improvement, but there are a lot of those quality of life improvements. So I guess from, Michael, Dale, anything that jumped out at you two? Or again, it wasn't very incremental years here. And this was about 2 months ago or something, so I'm pretty sure a lot of our brains will be fried. I'm trying to remember stuff.
Oh gosh, I've actually got things on my phone because I have a terrible memory. And it was 2 months ago.
Yes.
Mind you, I did forget them all the day after, so probably not just my memory. But anyway, so things that I mean, as Stephen said earlier, I work more so on Kubernetes. So the things that and I'm not going to delve into them too deeply because I know Andrew's going to talk about them in a moment, but I think backup, having the capacity to back up your EKS configurations, I think that for me is going to make life a lot easier. That one, I think also too, so I'm just delving in. I probably should have had these answers at the ready. You did send me the questions, and then I just forgot to read them. I'm still going to blame you. Okay. Lambda durable functions for AI workflows. I don't know what that is, but that sounds. We are serverless. Well, I'm partially serverless. I'm kind of a bit of an imposter because I go to the serverless meetups, but I'm Kubernetes.
You're cloud native on Kubernetes.
Am I?
Sorry.
So yes, I would probably say those two. I'll hand to Michael. I'm sure he's got more to offer.
From an AI perspective, the biggest announcement that really jumped out to me were the frontier agents that AWS are building. I think they're exciting. Did anyone hear about frontier agents at re:Invent?
I'll be honest, even I don't remember that.
There's basically two of them. Though. One's a DevOps frontier agent. The reason why that sticks out in my mind is because I actually met the developers at Function, and there was two of them. Two developers that worked on that, and two. So maybe they're using, but the DevOps frontier agents. These are autonomous pieces of software that you can log into a portal or control, and they run in the background, and they'll review your code. They'll do pull requests. So this is kind of a technology that's interacting with GitHub repos, doing like dependable for AI and doing more, probably more advanced. I haven't dug into them really deeply, so that's about the depth of my knowledge from the announcement. The other one was the security agent, and it really stood out to me when they actually showed a development team trying to deliver something and this mini movie was different for the keynotes this year. They had a mini movie. But effectively, the security one was really interesting, I thought, because it enables you to do pen testing. I'm trying to what it is, but you can automate security reviews of your software. It'll pick up package dependency problems. It'll pick up supply chain issues, and it will fix them. And it will make sure it fixes them and highlights them. So it's all part of their security, the AWS security hub. But now it's kind of that security hub is now embedded inside this agent. You can just run and have it running autonomously across your account as well. So the DevOps agent, if I go back to the DevOps agent, it will actually also do things like monitor CloudWatch logs and give you indications of where problems are looming. Because we all know that the biggest problem you're ever going to have with any software is when your durations of your functions or your agents starts going up. When the duration goes up, that's when your concurrency goes up, and that's when you have problems. That's, in my experience, the key indicator of a problem is additional durational latency. We hate latency in the cloud or domain. We all hate latency, right? Latency is it's the thing we have to be really good at, and it's the thing that annoys us the most. I thought Frontier Agents was really interesting. I think go and read about them, have a look at them. They were in early preview. Kiro just after re:Invent also announced their own autonomous coding agent. It's in preview at the moment. So maybe I can't talk about that. Oops.
Public.
It is public. It was public announced. It is in private. I think it's private preview. I'm not sure it's come out in preview yet.
I feel like I need to be at all your things just to make sure you don't break the hero NDA.
I generally just don't talk about anything.
Talking about diamonds in the rough, in preparation for tonight, I was having a look, and in pre-re:Invent, sometime in November, what's the one thing that is annoying when you're setting up networking infrastructure in AWS for a customer?
Kubernetes.
No. You have a VPC, you need the internet, so you need that gateway, fine. Okay, you that gateway. What's the other thing that's annoying? You can go anywhere on the internet with that gateway without having to put in an expensive firewall. Well, they released a network firewall policy. Does anyone know about this? Because I didn't. I'm looking through it, and normally people can get around. I've seen split proxies, all sorts of different things. But now they've actually built a managed network proxy that you can put in. I don't know how it works. I think it's only available in one region, but I'm sure it'll roll out soon. And I think that's fantastic because that internet gateway is suddenly you can have a relatively, I don't know what the price of it is. It's probably free during free, but surely it can't be. It's surely it'll be cheaper than a network firewall. So I thought that was interesting.
And it's one less box you have to monitor and manage as well. Because even if it might cost, look, if I want to run an EC2 instance, it'll cost me, maybe $1,000 a month for a nice thing. This is going to cost me $2,000 a month. And it's like, yes, but you don't have to manage a VM. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's nice. So, yeah, like, and I think that was a big thing out of all of reInvent as well. It's a lot more in terms of just stronger abstractions to make all of those things a lot easier. But yeah. But yeah, look, I guess another part of everything going on as well is trying to keep across these announcements is quite challenging, whether you're there or not. And so obviously, like, there's a bit of a thing there of trying to keep up to date on all those announcements, both just during reInvent, but also throughout the year as well. Because even today, I think there was 6 releases or something like that, if I remember the thing I was looking at earlier. In terms of just keeping up to date on stuff, what works for you lot? Is it, particular communities you're a part of? Is it social media, RSS feeds? How do you keep up to date with all the stuff that goes on with AWS? Because holy moly, there is so much going on at any given time.
To be honest, I don't keep up. I just I don't keep up. I sort of discover it as I go. I'm very much a hands-on, I'm a tactile person, so I need to kind of gain, like reading an announcement really doesn't mean an awful lot to me. Or even going to a keynote, or way too early in the morning. If anyone knows, they start the keynote sometimes at 8 a.m. Doesn't work for me. So no, I just explore it on my own if and when I feel the need to learn that technology, and then I don't worry about all the other things I don't know, which is what probably 99% of the technologies out there. And that's fine.
I use, I guess, a combination of things, because there's a combination of LinkedIn, usually connections I have posted some things, the things that are interesting and useful usually float to the surface with enough resharing and stuff. That's probably the main way that I do these days, but there's also I've started doing this more and more, starting to reInvent. There's actually a knowledge MCP server, and I'm going to have a bunch of MCP servers things. Plug that into your CLI or whatever, or doing on the web now, desktop, whatever your method of doing an LLM is, and you can just ask it, what's the latest thing for last few days in this topic? I don't care if it gives me everything or nothing, but it'll give me something that I don't know, I'm pretty sure. Or I'm trying to solve a problem, how can I solve this? And it'll go off and probably better research than I could do. It would take me half a day. But they're probably the two main ways. Plus the building community as well. I guess we've got a Slack thing, so a bunch of channels that actually comes to service there as well. So that's probably the main.
I've been doing this for a very long time. I have a very curated Twitter feed that is really good to read. That's what I did over the last 10, 15 years, is really develop a really good Twitter feed. If you have AWS, there's actually an RSS feed out there for AWS. The downside is they only keep it live for 7 days. You only get the last 7 days of updates. But there is a serverless hero out there, Luke Dockersgood from Amsterdam. Has anyone heard of AWS-news.com? That's the thing you should use. Like, go to AWS-news, AWS-news.com. I hate URLs with dashes. Who does domains with dashes in them? You don't. I feel like I'm being triggered. You're just trying to trigger me. Sorry, but AWS-news.com it's run by Luke Dockersgood. It's actually becoming a persistent database. It's got a persistent database behind it. He reads the RSS news every day, and he curates it with AI. So it's an AI summary of everything, and you can search it. It's searchable. It's filterable. You can sign into it. You can create your own version of newsfeed. What do I care about? What categories do I care about? You can get that in your inbox every day if you want to, or weekly. So that's what I find the best way to keep up with what's going on with AWS news. It's really the best way. I highly recommend it.
Awesome. And I think going back to something that Matt mentioned as well is trying to keep up to date on a lot of the things through your networks, through knowing people who are kind of, engaged in that space and creating stuff. Definitely this applies for, Kubernetes as well. Following people who are, in that sort of space, especially people like the Kubes, the Docker captains, people who are in that space and talking about it a lot. One of the ones you mentioned there as well for a group is the community builders as well. So I guess at the moment, I'll let the panelists talk a little bit about what the Community Builders program is. But I'll just ask to the group, how many people here have heard of the AWS Community Builders program? Yes, a few here and there. Okay. Yes, so awesome. No worries. So, for the Community Builders program, it's a program for people who are content creators, people who are thought leaders in the AWS space. If you're publishing blogs, if you're doing videos and that sort of thing, if you're talking at events, if you do podcasts and that sort of thing about AWS, it's a program for people like that to kind of network with other people. You get access to a lot of benefits and also obviously, you know, opportunities to do things like talking at major conferences like the AWS Summit or reInvent. And one thing about that is we have 2 current community builders and 1 former community builder with us as well, who's now an AWS hero. Well, 2. I don't count. I'm a nobody. I'm not important. But I guess from that, in terms of the AWS Community Builders program, the applications are still open for another week. But just for people who are, you know, thinking about that and they think this kind of sounds interesting, for our panelists, what would you say about the program in just like a short, brief, succinct term for that?
So the program is absolutely amazing. It enables you to connect with the community. It provides you with a lot of benefits. So you get $500 of AWS credit to use each year. You get access to free AWS vouchers. You have the opportunity to speak at events. So last year I got to speak at AWS Sydney Summit and reInvent because I was a community builder. So you have pathways to speaking on stage at some really amazing events. So yeah, I absolutely would. Are there any other benefits? I feel like there's more.
Access to, I was going to say the other big one there on top of that is probably the access to things like the roadmap and some of the public-private preview stuff, because we can't always rely on Michael to tell us what's coming up. Sometimes we have to find it from AWS ourselves.
Yeah. Also, too, you get access to training, and that's actually one that I use quite often because, as I said, I'm very much a hands-on learner, and they do have they provide you with free access to QA Academy, so you can go on there, you can use a free AWS account to build workshops and certifications, all sorts of things. So yeah, definitely would encourage you to apply. You have 1 more week, and you only need to provide 2 links to show that you are creating content. So they can be talks that you've given, they can be blogs, podcasts, tweets. Do they accept tweets? Maybe not tweets. I was going to say, if you've got some really good tweets, put them in. But if any of that content, 100% would encourage you to apply. Make sure you do it this week.
And also skills builder access is coming.
Well, I've heard that one before. Well, I'll believe it when I see it.
So all of that, I've got nothing else to add other than meeting cool people, because when you're at reInvent, you can either go to sessions or you can talk to people. I talk to people until I'm tired, I go have a nap and I talk to more people. Sessions kind of optional. So but meeting other people is really the most. We've all got people.
We all went on the plane together to the US.
Yes,
We had 16 hours together in close proximity. So because of community builders, and Christina, because of community builders, we know more about each other than we would like to admit. So come join us.
That's where you're mildly.
Yeah.
I'll just add to that. As an active technologist and developer, it's to keep in touch with what you're doing and keep that passion alive. I'm very passionate about what I do. I love teaching people things. That's my passion at the moment. But finding a tribe of people, finding people with a like mind. That's what AWS Community Builders did for me, and it enabled me to take my content to a whole new level. And so it's to such a high level that I end up being now an AWS hero. Don't ask me how that happens, because no one knows. It's mysterious, and it's intentionally mysterious. Finding a tribe, something like community builders is kind of like this meetup, right? You find like-minded people with meetups. That's why people go to meetups. You like content, you're curious, and that's why things like this meetup is great, because you're all got like interests, and that's what we're there for. Community builders is the same. We've all got like interests. There's different category tiers. So there's serverless, containers, dev tools, AI. There's all different technology streams within community builders on AWS. And this year is a little bit different. They're also opening up to non-AWS content creators as well this year. So keep that in mind. You don't have to be on AWS to become a community leader. They're trying to be different this year. Opening, making that a little bit wider to get more wider representation of technology. I think that's what's important. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, and I think one thing with that as well.
I think we have a question on that.
Yes, question up the back. Go for it. And I will repeat it to the stream.
I'm intrigued to hear a little bit about what you perceive the difference between startup and enterprise. And you live here, but what did you see as a difference between startup and enterprise at reInvent?
So the question to that, in terms of reInvent, what would the difference be between startup and enterprise? So is that in terms of announcements that would make a difference for your startups versus your enterprise, or
people participating?
And how many people are participating? So how many people would come from an enterprise background versus from startups, or something?
And
Yeah.
how active do you see? What's the activity difference
Yeah.
between startup and enterprise?
Yeah. So the activity difference. Absolutely. I'm happy to throw something at this first, and I guess it does kind of depend on, the types of startups as well. You do see a lot of people from both startups and enterprise at reInvent. Obviously, both attending as technologists and also sponsors who are there to sell things, because of course it's a fantastic marketplace to sell things if you're either a SaaS provider or you're building some kind of software, hardware solution, or if you're just trying to recruit people. It's fantastic for that. I would say that it is whilst there are a lot of big enterprises there is a surprising amount of startups who go very hard at reInvent, both for the whole thing of attending and selling stuff, but also sending their engineers to be active, engaged, and learning as well. And one thing I will say, adding on to the community build a bit, we all kind of learn within our day jobs a certain amount. Like, I think we can all agree, within your day job, you learn a certain amount, but you feel like there's just all this stuff going on around you that you just never get a chance to learn, never get exposure to. It's like, hey, if I work in infrastructure, how often do I get to touch all this AI stuff? Probably not very much. It is also really useful for people both from startups and enterprise, but I would say especially startups, to get that broader perspective as well, to find out the challenges that other people are having. Having those hallway track conversations is a really valuable part of that as well. And from that, I would say there's probably more people there from startups than you maybe expect from a conference that is sitting in the middle of Las Vegas, costing quite a lot of money.
Nothing to add. You answered it.
There was a startup reception I was invited to, and that was pretty well attended. It was, I don't know, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know, in that particular session. And that was hosted by AWS startup organisation for startups who were there. So I'd say there's a lot, and not every startup because they would have gone to that reception, but the vibe I get is that there is a lot of startups there, including me. So,
Yeah, AWS does speak a lot to their enterprise customers as obviously the biggest place for their ARR, but at the same time, there is a huge amount of startups involved because it ultimately is what is going to grow their base even further.
They have a program to fund startups called Activate. So it's actually a couple of tiers. So there's like $1,000 tier, which is actually pretty easy to get for $1,000 USD. And then there's the next tier up, which will be which is I think $10,000. So and then from there you can go up to more tiers. So they do spend a lot of time working with startups and helping them grow because they're the future of the platform if they grow in this.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that comes up here thinking about reInvent is, what would the most memorable part of it be for you, and also how would you recommend people to approach trying to get to reInvent if they're looking at this and thinking, yeah, sounds quite cool, I'd like to go again this year. The dates are now up and available, but if you're looking to get a chance to go, how would you recommend that? And what would the thing be? You would say, this is the memory that I take away from this. This is the reason it was just absolutely awesome.
I'm going to be honest, a highlight for me was the parties, which is probably why I can't remember any of the announcements. Just the most amazing atmosphere. Every single night, there are things happening. It's constant drinks, parties, venues, some events where you get to go, gosh, what did we do? A mega mart. I know some people went up in a helicopter, and some people were having
You did a limousine.
a limousine, yeah. So, there's just all these amazing things happening. The Cirque du Soleil show, like, because the sponsors treat this as like the event of the year, no expenses spared. So if you want to feel fancy for a week, go to reInvent. I know it's expensive. Actually, that probably leads into the second question about how you can actually get there. It is extremely expensive, obviously, we know, with flights, accommodation, and even the cost of the event itself. It's about $2,000 US. But if you're like me, you can be a little bit sneaky and get a grants program called All Builders Welcome. So this here was actually my 4th time being sent to the US, courtesy of Uncle Jeff Bezos. He very kindly paid for my flights, accommodation, and entry to reInvent. And as I said, 4th time I did it, so we love him. If anyone here is in their first 5 years of their career and would like to know how they can join this program, please come and speak to me or Christina afterwards. We can tell you about this program and give you some tips about how you can apply. And you may be there next year yourself.
And if you become an AWS Wing builder, you get a discount off the ticket.
50%.
I think it's more than 50%. Yeah. Pretty sure it's a bit more. I think it's 60.
Quite a lot. And the registration for the event itself is $2,000 US, so about $3,000 Australian. So even the registration is not cheap.
And therefore, if you become a builder and then you apply to talk and you get accepted, then you get free entry to that's pay for other things. But that's a good chunk of budget which you can not ask your boss for. The boss can pay for the rest. And if you're speaking, there's a good chance your boss will pay for the rest because that's the benefit for them. Very, very beneficial.
I mean, thinking about that with Michael as well, like you've obviously gone there as well with Accenture as well. So, I mean, how have you managed to convince your boss to be like, hey, I'm going to go to reInvent, and for him to say, yeah, okay? Because ultimately, I think for a lot of people, it's going to be a case of convincing our bosses to let us go. So, how we can do that?
Accenture don't pay for people to go to reInvent. That's a minimum. That's actually a minimum. If I wasn't an AWS hero, I would not be going to reInvent. reInvent from Accenture is a client event, and it's about client stories. And the only people who go are people who are actually the clients. They're the MDs, the directors. So they're the people who actually get paid. Accenture actually fund to get them. Not people like me, unfortunately. So anyone here work for Accenture, good, because getting to reInvent's not going to happen. Sorry. It's an enterprise thing, right? It's someone asked about enterprises and startups. Enterprises, it's all about clients, it's about customers, it's about sales and partners. For startups, it's about educating people, and it's about the vibe of being able to sell something in an exciting way. That's what I think going to answer that question, But how can you get there? Ask really nicely. Really nicely. But also, I will say that at Accenture, they do have some startups, they have some funds where they do fund people to get to things like reInvent in the first couple of years of joining Accenture. So they have those programs. I don't apply to me. I've been there too long. I haven't been there too long, but I'm an experienced client, so all those things don't count for me. So it's just hard.
I think there's that thing of being aware of what your company offers, and the especially important thing of actually like the fact that it's about the clients as well. It's not just like you're going to go because you're a tech person, you want to learn tech stuff. There has to be that other little piece to it as well. So exploring that and doing it really, yeah.
The only other thing I want to say is if you are working for an enterprise and you're curious about how to get to reInvent, start now.
Yes.
Start now, because the tickets will basically be allocated before mid-year. If you want to talk, if you want to submit a talk through your business or through you're a partner, work for a partner and you want to submit something, you need to work on it now. You need to be talking to your partner, your AWS partners now to organize that. Otherwise, it's not going to happen because all the talks are locked in by June, and then they're submitted by October. So if you're not working on it now, if you want to get there and you want to do something, be progressive and involved, you really need to start planning now.
Have the conversation.
This is not tax advice, but it's tax advice.
Thanking my accountants over there. All right, we're about at time. I will just say, I will give our panelists one chance. If there is one more thing they'd like people to take away from this, then one final thought.
Yeah, just two pieces of advice. So apply for community builders and apply for all builders welcome. And feel free to come and speak to me about either of those programs later.
You say aye. If you don't use it, use it.
Kubernetes is serverless, and serverless is cloud native. And in a few years' time, they will be the same.
You're going to get a shot up here, Christ. With that, look, thank you very much to everyone for sticking around to this conversation. We will get into Andrew's talk in a moment, but I do again want to thank our panelists for the fantastic work they've done here. Thank you very much. And on top of that, if you would like to connect with any of our panelists, please do look them up on LinkedIn. You'll be able to find all of us there. Thank you very much. I will now hand back to our host.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Thanks, Dale and Matthew and Michael. All right. It was a very fantastic session. I believe you guys followed that up. There are a lot of questions. I wish we had some time to ask questions, but we wanted to cover as much as possible during this session. So that's why we probably avoid asking questions. All right, we would move to the next segment of the agenda. So we got Andrew Gillard, who is just going to give us some EKS update. We obviously heard a lot of updates from the panel discussion as well. Whether it's going to be serverless, yet to be seen. It's going to be very different ambient if it's going to be serverless. Michael. But let's see, who knows, things could change. I would like to welcome Andrew Gillard. Please give him a round of applause. He's going to talk about EKS updates.
Thank you, everybody. So my name is Andrew Jarrett. I'm a domain specialist engineer here at AWS. I work in the container space, so ECR, EKS, ECS, Fargate, as well as some of the observability services as well. I'm just going to give a recap of EKS in 2025, some of the new features which were released, which may be of interest to you. How many people here use EKS? Okay. They say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but we don't believe in that here. So I'm just going to start off with ECR, the Elastic Container Registry. This is where it all starts. So when you build your container image with Docker, you'll push it to a container registry, and AWS's service is ECR. So there have been some changes done to basic scanning in particular. So it used to be built on the open source Claire project, but it's now built based on Amazon Inspector, just like to enhance scanning. We found we have improved accuracy and better results because of that. And one particularly useful feature, which I've already come to use in my work, is we now have the vulnerable images in use status. So previously, you may have had your container image, you see there's a CVE, maybe it's a critical CVE, and then at that point you go, okay, where's this container image actually being run? Is it still being used? Well, now you can see where that is. Say, for example, it's in your ECS cluster, in your EKS cluster, Lambda. So that's particularly useful for tracking down where those container images are being used. Now, the ECR feature is the pull-through cache from ECR to ECR, private registries. So pull-through cache has been around a while, where you can cache images from an upstream registry. So, for example, Docker Hub, you may have an image that you're using from there, and then you cache it locally, so you're not dependent on Docker, right? But now we have ECR to ECR pull-through cache. So you can push your image to a central registry, say account A, and then you can then cache that image in your other accounts and other regions. So then again, you don't have that cross-region dependency. There are a couple more small features. So we now fully support IPv6 for ECR. There's tag immutability exceptions as well. This was a very popular feature request on the containers roadmap. So it's best practice to have immutable container image tags, so you can't push a new image and override your versioned container image. But you may not want your latest container image to be version, right? You might want to be able to override that latest tag, and you can do that now. And we also support 100,000 images per repository. So that's raised the default limit. Other feature to help you save on costs is the ECR archive storage class. It's somewhat similar to S3, where you can archive objects that you're no longer using anymore. You can also archive your ECR container images. So let's say, for example, you have container images, you're no longer using them, you haven't used them for a year, but you want to, for compliance purposes, keep them stored. You would push them into the archive storage class. And so there's lifecycle management around that as well. So maybe last pull that, you can see it wasn't pulled for a year and automatically archive it. So who here has upgraded a Kubernetes cluster? Who wishes it was easier? That would be everyone, I think. So we're always going to work on making these upgrades easier. In the 4 years I've been at AWS, every year we're releasing new features to make these upgrading easier, and it has become easier. So the first one is the on-demand insights refresh. So we released on-demand insights a couple of years ago, so it will give you warnings before you upgrade your cluster, so you know what you need to do to what actions you need to take before the upgrade. The only limitation with that was that you would, when you went and fixed the problem, you come back and the dashboard wouldn't be upgraded, wouldn't be refreshed. So now we can refresh that on demand. We've released some new managed node group update strategies to give you greater flexibility when you're upgrading your managed node groups. And we've also accelerated the version support. So from the time the upstream Kubernetes is released or the upstream Kubernetes until it's fully supported by EKS, it has been fewer than 45 days for the last 2 years. We continue to accelerate that. And here's just a little example, what I was speaking about earlier, where we can see here that there's a deprecated API that was removed in 1.25. There's an error there. It tells you about that. Let's say you go and fix that problem, you find out what's using the deprecated API, but then you come back and now you're able to refresh this page. You can say, okay, it's resolved now. Now I'll continue with my upgrade. Okay, so for those of you who are managing a lot of different clusters, a lot of different regions, different accounts, we've released the EKS Global Dashboard. So this gives you insight into all of your different clusters. Say there's some with health problems, some maybe on using older versions of Kubernetes, which you need to upgrade. You can see that all in this central dashboard here. And we've made it easy to use as well by integrating it with AWS organizations. You can see the clusters across your organization. So we're continuing to provide more observability into your cluster, both the data plane and the control plane. So we've released a node monitoring agent, so that it runs on your nodes and it provides further information around the health of your nodes, and then it reports that back to EKS. And we've also released some dashboards to make it easier to troubleshoot the control plane. So The example down the bottom here is you can, let's say you're having performance issues in your cluster, you can come to this dashboard here, run the query to see what the top talkers are, and maybe that'll give you a little bit more information around what's putting the extra load on your cluster. Okay, so I think Stephen made the joke before that Kubernetes networking is very complicated, and there's a lot that can go wrong. There's a lot of different layers. And so we're trying to make that a little bit simpler as well to give you more insights into the network layer. So we've released this network observability stack. And so it allows you to see the traffic as it's flowing between pods and nodes in your cluster, and help you troubleshoot your networking issues a little bit faster. So on the next page, we have you can see a dashboard here. We can see which pods are speaking to which other pods. There's other data there, like if any bandwidth limits are being reached, any packets per second limits. And then you can use this data to further investigate, which pods are my top talkers, which ones are causing those bandwidth limits to be hit. You can get more information around that. Okay. We also have a hosted EKS MCP server in preview. This is very cool technology. It was mentioned briefly in the panel before. So it gives your AI agents more context when they're interacting with your Kubernetes cluster. So it's built with runbooks that we've found have helped customers to troubleshoot. So let's say, for example, you have some issue in your cluster, like the pods are stuck in pending. You ask your AI agent why that is. It can interact with this MCP server and make more intelligent decisions during that troubleshooting. So I think there's a lot more to come with this one. So I'd encourage everyone to give this one a good look when they've got time. Speed up troubleshooting dramatically. Okay, and Dale mentioned this one. So we now have full AWS backup support for Amazon EKS. So this is completely agentless as well. So you don't have to install any third-party tools or add-ons or anything like that. You just go to AWS backup, do some configuration, and you can back up the state of your cluster. So that's the internal state of your cluster, like the Kubernetes deployments, services, any resources within the cluster. But if you have stateful applications, it can also back up those stateful persistent volumes as well. So EVS, EFS, S3. And then on the backup side, you can go and ask AWS Backup to either create a new cluster or restore to an existing cluster too. Okay, so I'll just go over the provision control plane. Okay, so this allows you to pre-provision your capacity of your control plane. So in the traditional EKS, we manage the scaling. So if you increase the load on your control plane, then we'll scale up the control plane to handle that extra traffic. But with pre-provision control plane, you get this, you're able to pre-provision the control plane size. So we have 3 sizes, XL, 2XL, and 4XL. So you can imagine, let's say you have some large event and you're expecting some sudden spike in traffic in your cluster, right? And the standard scaling, through your testing, you've discovered that it's not scaling up fast enough and you're having performance issues. So you can go and pre-provision that control plane to the size that you need. And that's one thing I really appreciate about this, how easy it is to switch from standard to provision control plane and back and forth. So provided your etcd database is below 8 gigabytes, you can switch between the two seamlessly. So you might decide we've got some big event, we need a provision control plane, but once we're done, we don't want to pay the extra price for the provision control plane, we'll move back to the standard control plane. And how you choose the size of control plane is just based off the request concurrency and the pod scheduling rate. So let's say you have, you've done your testing and you know that you're going to have a request concurrency of 2,500 and a pod scheduling rate of 200. Then at that point you decide that you're going to choose a 2XL pre-provisioned cluster. We've also added some extra monitoring. So if we have your request concurrency in the pod scheduling rate, which is provided freely out of the box with EKS to help you make that decision. Okay, so this is EKS capabilities, which is sort of the flagship feature that was released at reInvent for EKS. And it's a new feature layer which is allowing you to more easily deploy both into Kubernetes, but deploy your AWS resources as well through Kubernetes. And so there's 3 elements of that which I'll go over. So it's built on GitOps principles. And so just as a quick little bit of background on GitOps for those who aren't familiar. The principles are that we have a desired state expressed declaratively. Anybody who uses Kubernetes will be somewhat familiar with this, where you have a deployment and then you apply that to your cluster. Your deployment is declarative. You have your desired state, which is immutable and versioned. So this is where Git comes in, the Git part of GitOps. And we want, with GitOps in particular, we want our desired state to be automatically applied from source. And we want the desired state to be continually reconciled. And this is where Argo CD comes into picture. So Argo CD, it is the GitOps engine. It's the de facto standard when you're doing GitOps in Kubernetes. And so what it's doing is it's watching the state of the Git repo, and it's also observing the state of your cluster. And so whenever the Git repo doesn't match the state of the cluster gets updated to match the Git repo's configuration. So let's say you want to do an upgrade of your deployment. As an example, you want to use a new container image. You would make your modification to your deployment in locally. You'd push your commits up to Git. At that point, Argo CD sees that there's now a difference between the Git repo config and the cluster, and so it goes and applies the config from the Git repo to the cluster. And with EKS capabilities in particular, so you don't need to manage one Argo CD for each cluster. That would start to get a bit unwieldy, right? You can have one Argo CD capability enabled for one of your clusters, and then it is able to speak to the other clusters in your organization. And so we've made this a lot easier as well. So if you have a self-managed Argo CD, you can do all of this. You can get a Helm chart and you can install it in your cluster, and then you can add extra clusters to it. But then you would have to go and configure the networking between your clusters. But with the EKS capabilities managed Argo CD, you don't actually need to do that. The networking is handled by AWS between the Argo CD and the clusters. We've also added a little bit extra functionality to make it easier, such as IAM authentication, so you can authenticate between clusters using IAM. And we've also integrated with Secrets Manager to make it a lot easier if you're using secrets to configure your Git repo. So I'll just very quickly touch on how you might configure this. So we have an Argo CD application here. We can see our Git repo, and then we have our path and target revision. And then with destination, we have our cluster. So this is the link between our Git repo and our cluster. I believe my friend Dale did a talk on Argo CD, so I'd recommend you go look that up if you're interested more in GitOps. And then to configure the clusters, if you see on the last slide, we just have our server as demo cluster. What does that actually refer to? We have a secret within Kubernetes. And so here, like I was saying, we made this a lot easier where you just have your server ARN, your cluster ARN in the secret here, and configure your secret with these labels. And then you'd also need to configure the authentication on the server as well. Authentication and authorization. But that's it really. So the IAM authentication between them is managed. Okay, the second capability provided in EKS capabilities is called ACK, the AWS controller for Kubernetes. So this allows you to manage your AWS resources from within your EKS cluster. So, and we also have this continual monitoring of drift and periodic reconciliation. So I'll just show you what it looks like for a bit of extra context, and it might start to make sense. So we have our bucket here, and you can see that we've configured our S3 bucket, and once we apply this to our cluster, it'll go and get provisioned within AWS. So we can set, the public access configuration. We want versioning to be enabled on the objects. Okay, and that controller.
Is that going to create like a bucket actually?
Yeah, we'll create an actual bucket. Yeah.
So is it open for like variety of AWS resources or limited? Or we have to write our own CRDs for this?
No. So most AWS popular AWS services are supported by ACK. Yeah. And this is all built into capabilities. So you can go and install all of these self-managed if you'd like. But EKS capabilities makes this a lot easier. All the ACK controllers that we have available are enabled, and as new ones come out, we'll also enable them. So most services you can think of are going to be configured here. We'll have an ACK controller built in as well. So like, let's say you want Lambda or an RDS database or DynamoDB, that you can declaratively define them here, and then the resource will get created within AWS.
One of the use cases we see is that use of Route 53 because you configure your ingress and then you need the Route 53 to send it to your ASP.
Right.
Is that something which Route 53 which we can support in here?
Typically, you would use external DNS, wouldn't you?
External DNS, yeah.
Yes. I'd have to double check that one, but yeah. And I'll just go over the last crow. Is the last capability. So this allows you to define custom APIs for your customers, for your developer team to consume. So I think it's easiest to think about this from two different roles. So we have our platform team, they go and create a custom resource with our custom APIs, and then we have a developer team that goes and consumes them. So we'll have a look at the custom resource here. So our platform engineer is going to go and create this resource graph definition here. It's a web application. We can see up the top spec here. That's what our app team is going to actually define, which I'll show you in a second. And then when the app team goes and creates a web application instance, it's going to go create a deployment and a service. And so it can create extra resources on top of the, where our app team just, all they care about is the web application, whereas in the background, it's going to create these extra resources. I'll show you. So the Crow instance, so this is what our developers are actually going to go create. So in this example, we just have an app. We want 5 replicas, and we want a database to be provisioned as well. So there's that abstraction there where our developers don't care about a lot of the details. Our platform team, they can go and create, configure the resources with all the defaults that their organization requires. Like, let's say they have to block all public access on S3 buckets, for example. The platform team can go and configure that, and then the developer team, they don't have to worry about that. They just use this Crow instance here. Yeah. So I hope you can sort of start to see how these three capabilities might work together, right? So you might have a platform team, they go and create these resource graph definitions, the custom API. And then your developer team, they have a Git repo and they push their web application, for example, their configuration. And then Argo CD sees that, it then applies that to the cluster. And then ACK, let's say there's an S3 bucket involved, then ACK will see that S3 bucket there and go and provision it behind the scenes. Okay. And these are all managed by AWS. So, like I was saying, you can go and self-manage install with Helm any of these add-ons here, these capabilities, Argo CD. You could choose your ACK controllers. You can go and install Crow. But now we're managing them completely within EKS. So they're running in an EKS cluster, in an EKS account. And you don't have to worry about the actual management. So, for example, the data plane, you don't have to go and provision, nodes to run your Argo CD or ACK or Crow pods. Okay, thank you. Just in the interest of time, and I've probably already gone a little bit over, I want to just give a shout out that we're going to put on an EKS workshop potentially for the public this year. So we're just trying to collect some expression of interest. And in that, you just have to provide your name, your email address, and any subjects or topics that you're interested in seeing covered. I know EKS is enormous. You'd spend a lifetime on it. There's always new features, as you can see, being released. But I'll also take some questions at the back of the room, and I'll have this QR code up as well. So if you want to come and grab this QR code after the talk, then free to do that. Thank you.
Now we are going to the last segment of our meetup. So we will be having a quiz. So you can use your mobile network if you have enough coverage inside this building. If not, you can join the network, which is on the free Wi-Fi. All right. Please scan the QR code. Then just join the quiz. We'll allow it a couple of minutes. Questions will appear in the screen. It will be appear in your mobile phone as well. So the marks will be given. How fast you answer the correct question, and for obviously for the correct question. We'll give you another 1 more minute. And it's on. That's already on. Please.
So, I'm not sure how many of you is not first time join, if not the first time. So you must know how you should do the quiz. Like first, you need to do the correctly answer. And the second, action quickly as fast as you can. So yeah, that's the tips. But especially for today's, the following 9 questions will cover the above topics. But my advice is like that's mostly the straightforward questions and answers. So just do as fast as you can. So anyway, I will race through those question and answers, but don't follow my pace. Just do yourself. Yeah. Good luck, everyone.
All right, we are going to start in 30 seconds. And then everybody join the quiz. All right. I see everybody has submitted this quiz. All right.
Does anyone haven't joined yet? Not ready? Hands up. If not, we just kickstart.
All right.
First one.
Yeah. What is reInvent 2025 held? It's a very easy one. Just pick the correct city.
It's question we give 30 seconds anyway, but yeah. quickly.
If you don't know the answer, because you're in the wrong hole, I'll say that.
Let's see. Oh,
Yes, I can remember. Matthew was saying he had a direct flight to Los Angeles, and he had this community builder forum, and probably believe that's why
yeah,
39%
that's why maybe. Yeah, that
of
confuse people.
participants have to choose Los Angeles, but the correct answer is actually Las Vegas.
Yeah, Las Vegas. Congrats those who yeah did right. All right, so next.
Does it show the leaderboard? Yeah.
Yeah, leaderboard the
Yeah. Yoshi.
all right, so far. Yoshi is Yoshi on site here?
Correct. Good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's
All right,
give it
let's
up.
go to the next question. What is new Amazon EKS offering was announced at AWS re:Invent 2025 to simplify Kubernetes operations and platform management. Ten seconds, well. Should be a very easy one.
Let's see. What's the data here? All right. So what's the correct answer? Definitely yes, the first one.
EKS capabilities.
Right, next. Okay, let's
We
see.
have a new winner.
Oh, the leaderboard changed. So quick.
All right, third question. The main goal of EKS announcement at re:Invent 2025 was to replace Kubernetes with new AWS service, make Kubernetes hard to customize, simplify Kubernetes management for teams, remove the need for containers.
It looks like everyone very confident.
Yeah, it's a really good question.
Okay. Yeah. What's
Simplify.
I don't think that.
Yeah.
All right, next. Quick.
Okay.
Who's
Top of our container still tops related.
yeah.
What AWS service announced at re:Invent 2025 to introduce native backup support for EKS clusters? All right. Correct. Right answer is AWS backup. The rest of the three services are already there. AWS backup is already there, but I think it was very straightforward. AWS backup was the one which was introduced to back up the EKS configuration.
Any change?
Yeah.
A little bit. But
Yep, number one.
yeah, to
One
will
remains
continue
same.
to keep the first top one.
Which of the following is included as part of EKS capabilities at launch? This probably should be in one of the AWS exams. I probably.
Ready?
Yeah.
This way. Let's see. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Not bad.
Third answer is continuous deployment integration with Argo CD.
Good job. Yeah, stay same, stay the top to
So is that
So,
available with
okay, no.
1.35 onwards or for any versions of EKS?
Yeah, any version.
Any versions. Okay, which is good. All right, next question. Which of these features was not released for ECR in 2025? Yeah. All right. The correct answer is cross-region replication. All right, we got the previous number one winner on the top, Yoshi.
Who was the previous top one?
Well,
Yeah, well.
it's not.
I can hear some.
So who's the top one?
Oh, start next.
Yeah, okay. What is the primary purpose of Amazon EKS provisional control plane? Not provisional, provision control plane. To reallocate control plane capacity from scaling tiers for predictable performance. Yep. All right. We are going to the last question, last two questions. What can you restore using AWS backup for EKS?
Do you have chance? Careful.
I think I just mentioned this question in one of the previous questions. Mentioned the answer in one of the previous questions. Right, the answer is EKS clusters, namespace, and persistent volumes. Basically, all the tenant-based configurations. But it's a tricky one if you haven't been following those EKS updates. All right, we are down to the last question.
Okay, last one.
Person in the top of the leaderboard is Yoshi. Good chance Yoshi or Hannah is gonna win this battle. All right, last question. Which of the following is not one of these EKS capabilities launched? Argo CD first, GitOps, ACK, Crow, Terraform Cloud for infrastructure as code. I don't see anyone getting this question wrong.
No pressure or anything.
Yeah. Should be easy as daylight. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the answer is Terraform, Crow, and GitOps. Argo CD was also launched. So it was launched during the reinvent or just 2025?
It was that reinvent.
Just the reinvent, yes. That's what I thought. All right. Let's see who has won.
Finally,
yes.
board. Yoshi, yes.
Yes. Congratulations, Yoshi.
Yoshi.
Yoshi. Yeah. All right. We'll take a picture if you want to come up, and we are giving away 6 months Cloud subscription.
You can go to
Next one, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
thank
But
you very
we'll
much.
just
So
take
you
picture.
donate. Okay, thank you.
You want?
Wow. It's the it's okay. And we'll take this.
All right.
You want to take picture?
Congratulations. Cheers. Thank you.
You want to take picture?
Sorry?
You want to take picture?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, guys. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. The second one, Hannah. Is she? Oh, good. You always go by an alias, right?
That's right.
All right. Yeah. Take a picture of you.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You will be getting the code cloud, is that right? You will be getting the code cloud, is it? Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Then we got one more winner.
Yeah,
SY. I don't know whether it is C or SY. Right. Congratulations.
So I'm gonna take the access as well, right? Subscription.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
So
We'll just take a picture just for LinkedIn, and if you opposed to posting your pictures in LinkedIn, let us know, because we might post all these winners in the LinkedIn. Sure. Yeah. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That's it for. We need to get the details as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
All right, that's all for today's evening. Behalf of KSUG and Yongkang and our community, I'd like to thank everybody who participated this session. I hope the food was enough. There were plenty of participants. Probably the last people to arrive might have missed out, so we'll take that into account next time. That's a good reason to come a little early. Thanks for that. And hope you got a lot of things out of the panel discussions as well as EKS update.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Take a photo.
yeah, and we'd like to invite everybody up front because we want to take one last group photo, which will be definitely posted on LinkedIn. Thank you. So if you want to come back in the front for just the one photo, that'd be great. Yeah. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you.